Let's dive right into this explainer on monopolistic competition and uncover the hidden economic forces that literally shape your daily shopping experiences. We're going to look specifically at the standard retail aisle, a place you probably visit all the time. And honestly, by the time we're done here, I promise you are never going to look at a grocery store shelf the exact same way again. Seriously, the very next time you run out to pick up dish soap or toothpaste, you're going to see this brilliant economic machine at work.
Picture this. You're standing in a supermarket. You're completely surrounded by a fairly large group of sellers on one side, represented by all those products packed onto the shelves, and a huge crowd of buyers, your fellow shoppers, on the other. And you're facing choices that, well, they can seem completely overwhelming. Dozens of liquid cleaners are sitting right next to each other, all promising to do the exact same job of cleaning your clothes or your floors, yet they all look completely different. Now, this isn't some random accident. It's actually part of a highly realistic, totally intentional economic design.
So, to figure out why the aisle looks like this, we first need to look at how economists traditionally classified markets. Historically, they basically tossed markets into two extreme buckets. On one extreme, we've got perfect competition. Think of this as an ideal, almost imaginary setup where there are huge numbers of buyers and sellers, and absolutely every single product is identical. We're talking perfect substitutes with a single uniform price. Imagine a world where every single apple or every bag of flour looks and costs exactly the same, right? Then, on the totally opposite extreme, we have a monopoly. This is where a single, powerful seller basically wears the crown and has complete control over the entire market supply of a product. And the kicker here, that product has absolutely zero close substitutes. You either buy from them or you just go without.
But enter Professor E.H. Chamberlain in 1933. He looks at this and realizes that the real world rarely actually operates in these absolute extremes. In his book, he introduced this highly realistic hybrid model called, you guessed it, monopolistic competition. This framework perfectly blends the features of perfect competition right alongside monopoly traits. It describes a market where there are a fairly large number of sellers. Now, it's less than that infinite sea of perfect competition, but it's enough that no single buyer or seller can entirely dictate the market alone. It's that messy, realistic middle ground that you and I live and shop in every single day.
The core of this whole thing is anchored by Chamberlain's absolute most vital idea, product differentiation. Just think about those familiar liquid cleaners fighting for your attention on the shelf. In monopolistic competition, lots of firms produce a particular product, but the product of each firm is differentiated from all the others in some specific way. They are really close substitutes for one another, but, and this is key, they are never completely perfect substitutes. Even though they clean the exact same stains, the branding makes them distinct in our minds. Even though every single bottle of liquid cleaner serves the exact same basic function, these companies go to incredible lengths to stand out. They differentiate themselves through totally unique brand names and trademark logos. They use special container shapes, distinctive color layouts, and highly specific packaging and cover designs. Or if we look at other markets like cold drinks or toothpastes, they might differentiate on taste, scent, or quality profiles. And because of this differentiation, each firm essentially acts like a mini monopoly over its own specific design and brand. They hold a little bit of monopoly power over their loyal customers. This means the cross-elasticity of demand is very high. Now, in plain English, that just means if your favorite brand gets way too expensive, you'll easily just reach over and switch to a close substitute right next to it. But until that happens, you have a strong emotional baseline preference for the one you like. Actually, it's exactly why some people absolutely refuse to switch toothpaste brands, even if the actual ingredients are literally identical.
Okay, so here's the really crucial point. How on earth do these companies convince you that their specific, uniquely shaped bottle is the absolute best choice among so many close substitutes? How do they make you actually want their brand of soap over the 10 other brands sitting right next to it? Well, the answer lies in an economic concept called selling costs, and this operates right alongside this market's complete freedom of entry and exit.
These firms have to rely heavily on massive selling costs. This is a feature totally peculiar to monopolistic competition. You definitely don't see this in perfect competition, where identical products basically just sell themselves. Selling costs are the heavy business expenditures incurred purely to create more demand for a product and bump up that volume of sales. We're talking about pouring crazy amounts of money into television and radio broadcasts or those inescapable targeted ads that follow you on your phone. It means erecting colorful street hoardings, billboards, setting up public exhibitions, and creating these flashy window displays. Think about the free samples or free gifts they hand out at your local grocery store. That is a massive cost they take on just to get you to try their specific version of the product, all in the hopes of building brand loyalty.
And all of this brilliantly illustrates the dynamic fluidity of this market.
Because there are no insurmountable legal or technological barriers like you'd find in a pure monopoly, there is absolute freedom of entry and exit. It's like a revolving door. First, if a specific type of differentiated product becomes super popular and massive profits emerge, new firms will eagerly and freely enter the retail aisle to get a piece of the action. Just think about how many new energy drink brands seem to pop up out of nowhere. Conversely, if a firm finds it just too difficult to survive, maybe they simply can't keep up with those heavy selling costs, or their advertising just totally fails to capture the public's imagination, they can just as easily pack up, close shop, and exit the market entirely.
Now let's look at our final concept and see how this builds into a really fundamental shift in how we even talk about economics. Because products in this market are differentiated, rather than completely identical clones, Professor Chamberlain argued that we needed to update our economic vocabulary. He suggested we ditch the traditional word industry, which strictly refers to a number of firms producing perfectly identical products, and replace it with his own signature term, the group.
So instead of an industry making identical items, Chamberlain's concept of a group acts more like a big bracket. This bracket encloses a number of independent firms that are all manufacturing differentiated, yet closely interrelated product substitutes. So when we talk about all those different liquid cleaners, or different brands of medicines, or even the vast array of different automobiles available on the lots today, we aren't actually talking about an industry. We are talking about a group of close, interrelated product creators competing under the exact rules of monopolistic competition that we've just uncovered.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to take this framework out into the real world with you. On your next trip down the retail aisle, look at it through this new economic lens. Notice the heavy selling costs surrounding you on billboards, on your screens, and right there in the store. Observe the intricate product differentiation in the physical container shapes, the vibrant colors, and those trademark logos of the items you buy every week. And ask yourself, how are these hidden economic forces guiding your choices? And which group will you be buying from next?